okay. She was just feeling a little not that great.
Okay, who's the timer?
Unfortunately.
Oh, okay, so, all right. And so I'm the only one that's been filled in, but everyone else is?
Everyone else is here.
Okay, okay, all right, all right. Okay, we'll go over our agenda. I'll introduce the timer, which includes Olivia tonight.
Nobody wants to do this, eh?
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I will be the timer for the evening, and it goes like this. So for our speeches tonight, we have the dynamic leadership done by Joe Tate, and that's going to be a 5 to 7 minute speech. And then David's going to do a dynamic leadership as well, and his is 5 to 7 minutes. So when you get to the 5-minute mark, it will be green. When it gets to the 6 minute, it will turn yellow, and then 30 seconds before, so I guess at 6.5. When do we turn red?
At 7.
At the 7 minute, okay.
Yes.
And then when it's time to wrap things up, it will turn to this beautiful red color. And then table topics will be, that's impromptu speeches that anyone can participate in. And those speeches are 1 to 2 minutes, and it will follow the same process. So at 1 minute it'll be green, a minute and a half it will turn to amber or yellow. And then when it's time to wrap it up, you will go to red. Same thing will happen with the speech evaluations. Those are 2 to 3 minutes, and I will follow the same process. And that will be, at the end, I will give a report, and that is the job of the timer.
All right, thank you very much, Olivia. For our grammarian and our counter tonight will be Kyler.
So I'll be the all counter and grammarian. For my role as all counter, I'll be listening for filler words like things that there's a good example right there. The filler words that you use to avoid silence. The other thing is be the grammarian. I'll be listening for any abuse of the English language.
All right, and the word of the day.
So let's see, what is our word of the day? Word of the day is mien, M-I-E-N.
M-I-E, what is it?
M-I-E-N.
Oh, I see.
Mien.
Do you have a definition of that? I'll look it up real quick.
It is a person's look or manner.
Especially
Okay.
when it's mean.
Mean.
A person's look or manner, especially one of a particular kind, indicating their character or mood. He has a cautious academic mien.
Okay, so the general demeanor. Okay.
Their look.
Our table topics. No, let's go to our general evaluator, Cheyenne.
I'll be the general evaluator. I'll just be observing the meeting and giving a general overview of it at the end, and also calling for the reports.
All right, thank you. And our table topics master for tonight is Luke.
So table topics, this is your time to get up and impromptu speak. So I'll just give a topic, ask volunteers. Tonight's topics, I'll go ahead and let you guys know, are a little easy, probably easier to speak on, and hopefully we can kind of get through everybody. At least now has to deal with the holidays and the New Year and everything, so yeah, that's our table topics.
All right, thank you. I believe that's all the roles. At this time, I would like to introduce the first speaker. And our first speaker, he's been a member of the club for a little while, and he's going to be doing his evaluation and feedback speech under dynamic leadership. And what's the title of your speech?
What is hydraulics?
What is hydraulics? And our first speaker for tonight will be Joe.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I will be presenting my dynamic leadership speech on what is hydraulics. Hydraulics is a broad term, but the definition I pulled from Google is the branch of science and technology concerned with the conveyance of liquids through pipes and channels, especially as a source of mechanical or to control. Meaning, you didn't get a lot from that definition because I didn't, and I sell hydraulics. The mechanical force of a motor turning a pump creates a flow of liquid. It doesn't have to be hydraulic oil, it could be water, any kind of fluid. It's pushing that fluid to an actuator to create a mechanical force to do work. So why? Why would you create a mechanical force, change it into fluid force, and then change it back into mechanical force again? Seems like not very smart. But the reason is because you can route hoses through walls, around corners, up and down hills, very long stretches. You can't do that with a drive shaft. If anybody knows what a drive shaft is on your car, it goes in a straight line. If you try to go it around, put it around the corner, it's not going to work. So that's the reason people use hydraulics, is because you don't have to have a straight line of sight for the work you're going to do. You can just, from one room to another, go through a wall, take it down a hall, it'll go anywhere. And then that definition of meaning when I use the word actuator, an actuator is your mechanical force from after you turned it into fluid power, and it goes into your actuator to do the actual work you're trying to do. So an actuator can be a cylinder, a motor, and a cylinder has a push, a pull, or a twisting force. A motor has just a twisting force to do the work. So where did hydraulics originate? It's unclear because people have been using hydraulics pretty much since people were on Earth. The best example I have is the Parisian Empire. They were using water mills in 350 BCE for grinding grain and sort of things like that. Where do we see hydraulics? You see it in everyday life. If anybody has ever seen a commercial zero-turn lawnmower, they have hydraulics on them. When you pull one lever and push the other and you do a donut, that's the hydraulics at work. Everybody has garbage pickup. The cylinders on the back of the garbage truck that pick your garbage can out, that's hydraulics. Car lifts, when you take your car and get the tires changed and rotated, the hydraulic cylinders are what's picking your car up. And they're also in industrial applications, but I won't try to bore you all with that because that's long and lengthy and I still don't understand it all. So when I say actuators, again, the hydraulics consist of really three things. You have your pump. It produces flow and withstands pressure. A lot of the misconception is pumps produce pressure. They don't. They produce flow, and the restriction of that flow is what causes your pressure. Before that, to turn your pump, you have to have a prime mover. It could be an electric motor, a gas engine, or it could be a power takeoff on the side of a transmission that is turning that pump. Anything that can turn that pump fast enough to produce the flow is going to be your prime mover. Again, your actuators, the cylinders produce a push or pull force or a rotary action. And you would kind of think, why would a cylinder push, pull, and rotate? Well, people came up that are a lot smarter than I am, came up with a rotary actuator. If you look on the city of Mobile's garbage trucks, if you live in the city and you see the garbage truck come up to your trash can, grab it, and then kind of just rotate it in, that's a rotary actuator that's flipping your garbage can. So they consider that a cylinder for some odd reason. But then you have motors. Motors produce a rotary force, and it's measured in torque. We won't go into torque because that's a long equation that I don't know how to do. But where you see motors, you see them on tow truck winches. if anybody's ever got towed, unfortunately, hopefully it was because you were broke down, not because you parked on the side of the road illegally. But that tow truck that hooks your winch up to the front of your car, and he stands over there and pulls a valve, there's a pump on that truck, there's hoses go to that valve, and then the hoses go to a motor on that winch that makes that winch turn. And so that's hydraulics in use. So if we look at it, hydraulics are all around us, and we can't get away from it. That's why I sell it, because it's everywhere. Unfortunately, it's a commoditized market, but I won't go into that one either. But that is my speech on what is hydraulics. It is a very short speech on hydraulics, because I don't know it all, and if I said I did, I'd like it. I don't know. So I appreciate y'all's time, and that is my speech. Thank you.
Okay, our next speech is by another person who has relatively recently joined the club, and he has performed his icebreaker within the past few months or so. And this is his second speech, Evaluation Feedback under Dynamic Leadership. And the title of the speech is Meditation, What, Why, How. Our second speaker for tonight will be David.
Meditation. Meditation. What is it? Why should I do it? How do I do it? I became interested in meditation several years ago. I'm a health nut and kind of keep up with the latest health news. And more, just articles about meditation kept popping up. And not just about meditation being something that's good for our mental or spiritual health, but also for our physical health. Meditation can lower blood pressure, can reduce cortisol, like stress hormones in the blood, which can lower our risk of heart disease. So I was intrigued, but I grew up here. I was raised in a Christian church. I remember our minister would say, "Let us pray," but he would never say, "Let us meditate." I didn't know what it was, so I wanted to find out. And what I found was meditation is about training the mind. It's about training the mind to be present and fully engaged in this moment. So why is that important? Well, we go through life in what I've heard referred to as a default mode network. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others. We look at how we look, like how is my hair? For those of you who have hair, I know that you think about it. And we're also, in comparing ourselves to others socially, like, Kyler works with the homeless, and what do I do? And Kyler's happily married. I'm single, and so we're always kind of looking at each other and seeing how we add up, and that all takes a lot of brain power and time. We're also highly critical. We think, why didn't I study harder for that test, or why did I eat those 7 donuts? Why can't I be a better person? It's human nature to kind of be that way. But the biggest thing that we are, and I'll give you a hint, H.G. Wells wrote a book about it. Can anybody guess what we are that's bigger than any of that? The name of the book was The Time Machine. We are all time travelers. We spend, on average, most of our time either in the past, regretting things we've done, or in the future, worrying about things we haven't done yet. We spend most of our time in the past and the future, regret and worry. And when we do that, we miss out on the present moment. And that's a shame, because the present moment is all we really have. It's all we've ever had. I heard it once say that if I realized how powerful my thoughts are, I would stop having negative ones. Regret, worry. Meditation is a tool that helps us achieve this. So how do we meditate? Well, it's really simple. We can get on the floor in the lotus position with our fingers like this, or we can meditate like a Buddhist monk, but that's not really necessary. That's fine if you're comfortable that way. But the main thing is to just be comfortable. It can be sitting in a chair or even standing, having a walk in nature. And to start, we relax our body, just one muscle at a time. Just start with our eyelids, with our lips, with our shoulders, and kind of work our way down. And then we relax our mind. And the way to do that is, one common method is what's referred to as a mantra, where we repeat a phrase over and over again in our mind. The reason for that is that language is a great thing, but as soon as we sit still and close our eyes and try not to think of anything, the first thing that tends to happen is thoughts come in our mind. Our brains say, oh, this is a perfect opportunity to think about anything and everything. So mantras are a way of distracting that language part of the brain so that you can find something deeper underneath. And there's other methods. There's visualization, where we visualize an object, say a bright object maybe in the center of our body. There's also just simple observation, where we observe whatever thoughts occur, non-judgmentally, and let them pass. So a lot of people beginning in meditation think, okay, I have to just stop thinking. I have to cut out all thoughts. That's impossible. That's like telling a child, whatever you do, don't touch this. Well, the first thing the child's going to do is start thinking about that, thinking, I really want to touch that. I want to see what that is. So whenever I tell myself not to do something, or tell the brain not to do something, we might as well remove that word not, and the brain's going to think about that and want to do it. So instead of trying to shut out thoughts, just let thoughts occur as they will, and think of them like clouds. If a cloud is in the sky, just let it pass by. And then if another thought comes up, let it pass by. And eventually we'll reach a meditative state. But it's kind of like sleeping. You can't force sleep. I can't wake up, or I can't go through the day and think, okay, when I go to bed tonight, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to force myself, and I'm going to sleep better than anybody. Sleep is something that just has to be allowed to happen. And meditation is that same way. And it takes practice. It's like running. If I go out, if I've never run and I go out and run a mile, I'm probably going to get sore and discouraged and I'm say, well, this didn't work. But if I do a little bit each day, I can get better and better, and eventually I'll be running marathons. And it's not just formal. We don't have to sit in a chair and try to become into a certain state. It's something we can do anytime. If I'm in a traffic jam, rather than sit there frustrated, I can just close my eyes and breathe for just 30 seconds or a minute. And do that instead of honking my horn in frustration. And because of that, I'll feel better. So I've explained to you what meditation is, why we should do it, and how to do it. A year and a half ago, I spent 2 weeks in a Buddhist temple in California. And there I lived with monks and learned that meditation is a way of life. But it's also a means to an end. The real goal is to learn to live in the moment. And when I live in the moment, I find that I'm more at peace with myself. I have a greater sense of happiness and well-being. But this is something, even though I've been practicing, that I often fail at. It's really a journey. It's something that I need to continue to work at. But I wanted to share that part of my life with you here today. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, David. It's interesting that the part of the speech where you mentioned that some people define meditation as having your mind blank. And guess what I thought about when I tried meditation? Is my mind blank yet? Is my mind blank yet? Is my mind blank yet? But thank you for, that was a good speech.
Yes, it was.
At this time, we will move on to our table topics, and our table topics master for tonight will be Luke.
Okay, so everybody's favorite time of the evening, and I say that sarcastically because table topics is definitely not my favorite time of the evening. But I think tonight the topics are going to be relatively easy to speak on. That was the goal. And this will allow us to just share something a little personal, I think, with the group without being intrusive. But so with the holidays, you know, with New Year's and Christmas and everything, a lot of people make New Year's resolutions. So the question is, if you did make a New Year's resolution and you feel like sharing it, what is that resolution? If you didn't make a resolution like me, just tell us a favorite memory from the holidays, because I know there's a lot of people who got to spend time with family and friends to get some downtime. So those are just the blanket questions. So would anybody like to go first? And we will have our Toastmaster, Maurice.
Go first.
Fellow Toastmasters, honored guest, the question posed was, did I make a resolution? And if not, what was my favorite part of the holidays or favorite moment of the holidays, etc. Well, I did not make a resolution, but I'd like to get into what I did instead of making a resolution. I generally like to improve, continuously improve, but instead of making a resolution to improve, you just make your mind up any day of the year and just work on that area where you need improvement. So when a new year comes up, instead of making a resolution, I just make sure I'm committed, or if it's something I'm not already doing, just make it my business sometime to get into whatever else I wanted to get into. Mr. Topic Master.
All right, thanks, Bruce. And we're definitely in a place to help improve public speaking. Does anybody like to volunteer next?
No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
All right, Olivia.
You gonna do it? Yes. Toastmasters, honored guests, Happy New Year to you all. The question is, did I make a resolution? And if I didn't, then what was my favorite memory from this holiday season? And I did not make a New Year's resolution, but I did come up with the word last year. There's two things that I decided I was going to do. And the first one is a word that I want to focus on the whole year. And I heard a motivational speaker / sermon say, speaker asked the question and she said that everyone should come up with the word that they want to use. So the first word that came to mind, and it's just been one that I want to try to keep in my forefront, is completion. So I want to complete some things that I started, kind of get away from that procrastination. I want to make sure that I have a beautiful mien, which means that I want to, and I said this in my first big speech that I did, that we should always remember to fix our face. So keep a smile, always appear to be happy, start off with a smile, and whenever you start, try to finish. Another thing that I have done was I have a jar, so every day I put something in that jar that I'm happy that I did one of my accomplishments, whether it was, hey, I didn't eat the dinner rolls at Old Charlie's, or I completed my exercise or I didn't use a profound word, whatever I did. Every evening I put in that jar. So at the end of the year, I would like to go back to the jar and look at my accomplishments. That's what I did for this year.
Those roles at retirement are very good. They're hard.
I didn't do it.
They're hard to turn down. Okay, I think I saw Cheyenne's hand raised. Welcome her to the lectern.
Fellow Toastmaster, honored guest, our question posed is, have you made any New Year's resolutions? And so I want to share mine from last year because I'm very proud that I achieved all of them. I don't do New Year's resolutions, so to say, I do more goals, things that I want to work on and accomplish throughout that year. I think goals is a little less daunting than resolutions. So I had 4 last year and did all of them. My first one was to get paid to do comedy, and that happened in the first 2 weeks, so that was awesome. I had a goal throughout the year to invite friends over more often and to open my home more often. I feel like we did that. Number 3 was a big one, get a new job, which I did, switched jobs 3 times, so go big or go home, right? And then number 4 was to either take a trip to Colorado or Iceland, and we got to go to Colorado unexpected, and it was really fun. So I was really proud that I accomplished those goals. This year, I've been struggling to set a few more goals. What can I do this year? Last year was just so exciting. So one goal that I've set, I've always wanted to learn how to speak Spanish, so I'm working on that. I got Rosetta Stone on sale at Target. It was expired, it was a thing, so that's why it was on sale. So learn Spanish is one of my goals. I feel like it's just useful in professions and personal life. You never know, someone may need your help and you can bridge that gap. Number 2, I've always wanted to, this is gonna sound silly, but I've always wanted to have what is called a capsule wardrobe. So you have like 30 items that all match each other and you like get rid of the excess. So that's one thing that I wanted to do. And that is all that I have so far. So a little less to do than last year, but still some goals to keep in mind. So thank you.
Well, Cheyenne was so successful, I think I need to reevaluate my goals because I feel far behind now.
Oh, we should just answer your own question then.
I know, I will. Okay,
Here we go.
so I did not make a New Year's resolution. I don't remember if I've made them the last couple of years or not, but my favorite memory over the holidays, I had 2, really. It was just spending time with my parents, you know, being in the Coast Guard and being stationed out in Kodiak and in Washington and everything, and seeing your mom and dad just a couple times a year, especially as they get older. It's kind of tough. So I've been fortunate, you know, they got stationed back here the last 2 duty stations, so spending holidays with them, being here for surgeries, going out for the little things, birthdays and stuff that I was missing, definitely really helps. And I guess my second memory is, so I enjoy growing my own food. I've always enjoyed, you know, growing my own vegetables and trying to grow what you eat. And so I have chickens that I harvest for eggs and meat, and I have bees that I get honey from, and we use the wax for all sorts of different things as well. And I also had one of my first successful hunts, so I did hunt a deer this year, you know, I definitely use every part of that animal, down to the fur. My dad's using it as well, and it was just nice. It makes me feel good to harvest your own meat, and it's clean, and it was healthy, and it just kind of makes me feel good to do. Excuse me. But so that's my favorite memory. And is anybody else would like to volunteer?
Do you have a deer hat next week? A deer fur
I'm
hat?
probably just gonna wear the hand.
Little tail?
No.
Little tail?
Yeah.
Very good.
We have 3 minutes left. Ahmed, I hope I said your name right.
Yep.
So you're a guest here, and we welcome you. If you would like to answer that question, you can. If not, please, there's no pressure to. But also, if you would just like to maybe get up and just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here, yeah, you're more than welcome to. If not, please.
Sure.
Please
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go from there.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Ahmed. I'm fairly new in the Mobile area, but I've been here for about 2 years now. I had 2 years in August. I moved here for work, so I lived in Kansas, where I graduated, finished my undergrad, did my bachelor's in chemical engineering, and I moved to Mobile to start my role as a process engineer. I work for Evonik, which is a specialty chemicals company based in Theodore. We have the largest site in North America. It's a German company. And I found out about this group fairly late. I wish I had known before, but I've always looked into public speaking as a segment, or at least now being in industry, I realize how important it is. And I realized how it's useful for interacting and communication with people, especially since communication is a big portion of dealing or getting things done in industry or in professions. Memories about the holidays. Going along what other people have said, I usually don't set up goals, but I more so like to reflect. Which also allows me to set up things to say what I want to do next or do better in the year. What I do have for 2020 is, it's been a while since I've been back home. Forgot to mention my home. I was born and raised in Yemen, which is a small country in the Middle East. And I lived there for about 18 years of my life before I moved. And it's been about 4 or 5 years, getting close to 5 years since I've visited. So one of my goals for 2020 is to travel back and visit. So I'm excited for that.
Okay, so I think Ahmed just told us all, I think he's been a Toastmaster member for a long time.
You did a good
It was
job.
way too natural up here. Thanks for coming up, I appreciate it. Okay, so we are right on time, and now table topics is over, and I'll turn it back to the judges.
All right, thank you, Luke. At this time, we'll move into our general evaluation period, and our general evaluator for tonight is Cheyenne.
So I kind of hesitated on the applause.
Sorry.
Did I give like a serious mien off? You're scared of applause? Okay, forgot to use it for table topics. So, my general evaluation, the meeting started on time. Thank you, Luke. And we did a good job. We had a good flow. I think everyone did a great job explaining the rules. Thank you for visiting. Hope you like us and you come back. I enjoyed our first speech, Joe, about hydraulics. Actually, I'm new to learning about this as I work at a fire station, so everything has hydraulics on it, and they try to explain it to me, and it just kind of goes over my head. But I enjoyed your speech because, like I said, it's relevant to me right now. I loved your speech about meditating. It's something I actually just got into in 2019. Started doing yoga and didn't realize how relaxed it can make you, and physical, you can feel stress leaving your body. It's amazing. So thank you for sharing, and I hope more people are inspired by your speech. I liked our table topics. They were a good topic. I like your style. You do a blanket topic, so you have a second to think. I love that little cheat. So thank you again for sharing. That was awesome. Do seem very comfortable and natural here. So that's my general evaluation. And I will now get our report. So can we start with we're going to do our first evaluation of our speech. So our first evaluator is going to be Sean, and he's going to be evaluating their speech. Thank you.
All right, so my evaluations on Joe's speech, what is hydraulics? Having been in that, I was in that field, I don't know, I probably haven't told anybody this, but I've done pump design, so I'm familiar with hydraulics, but that was still very good informative speech. So I like the topic, definitely. You used, the one thing I really liked about your speech, Joe, is you used real world examples, which kind of made everyone in here, I think, even if you're not a scientific, a scientific or whatever engineering background, you can kind of understand how important hydraulics is and how much goes on behind the scenes in the world with hydrology and everything. So, for instance, like the fire trucks and the wastewater pumps, and that's what I worked in. So that's one of the things I really liked about your speech. I also would I guess work on like using less notes maybe and focusing more on connecting with the audience. And also vocal variety, just to kind of engage the audience. And then on the using hand gestures, I think you use hand gestures pretty good, although moving away from the podium probably would help too, just kind of that way maybe you're not looking at notes as much, and then you're kind of connecting more with each individual. So I think it's more of a looking out, and then also just looking at each person, whatever, kind of scanning the room and that sort of thing. But overall, it was definitely, I see that you're, from the icebreaker, you're definitely growing as a speaker. So I think just keep at it, and the more you tweak things, the more you'll kind of get more effective as a public speaker. So good job.
Thank you.
All right, so we have an evaluator for our second speech, and that evaluator is going to be Maurice, evaluating David's speech on meditation.
Yes, I evaluated David's speech on meditation, what, why, and how. And overall, what I liked about his speech was he broke down what meditation is and what meditation isn't, and some other people's definitions of meditation, and how it can be implemented in your life and the benefits of meditation. You excelled at clearness of voice, appropriate and well-timed gestures. You may want to work on just a little more vocal variety. I mean, there was some vocal variety in his speech, but you may want to work on a little bit more, and to challenge yourself, just continue to improve on your speeches. You improved from one speech to another, and it was a very impressive speech overall. I'm going to go over the points of evaluation. Clarity, his voice was clear and easily understood. Vocal variety, he did use some vocal variety. Eye contact, he used effective eye contact. As far as I can see throughout the speech, he was consistently looking at different people throughout the speech. Gestures, again, well-timed, consistent gestures that complemented the speech. Audience awareness, he was aware of how, I guess through his eye contact, how the audience responded to the speech. Comfort level, the speaker was very comfortable with the audience. And interest, the speech garnered lots of interest from the audience. So again, overall, you did a very good speech, and we'll expect more. We hope to see more of that And if you don't already know your second evaluation and feedback speech, it could be, you could repeat this speech based on the feedback that you've gotten from this speech, or you could do a different speech using the feedback from the speech that you did. Right. Thanks. So, evaluate.
Thank you, Sean and Maurice, for those great evaluations. And now we will move into our reports for the evening. So would the timer like to start with her report?
Absolutely. Thank you. Good evening again. And I will give you my reports on the times, minutes for the speeches. Joe, your speech was first, and you had a 5 to 7 minute speech, and you did 6 minutes and 3 seconds. Very good. David, you had a 5 to 7 minute speech, and yours was 7 minutes and 41 seconds. Also very good. Table topics. Maurice, you had 1 minute 19 seconds. Olivia, 1 minute 38 seconds. Cheyenne, 1 minute 59 seconds. 59.71. I was almost having a little bit of time. Like, that's enough. Yeah, so anyway, that was fun. 1 minute 59.71 seconds. Luke, you had 1 minute 37 seconds. Amit, did I say that right? Amit. And you did a little mini icebreaker, which I enjoyed. It was 1 minute and 35 seconds. Evaluations. The first evaluation was done by Shella, and it was a tape speech, and you did 2 minutes and 53 seconds. Very well. And then the second evaluation was done by Maurice for David, and yours was 2 minutes and 32 seconds. Very good, everyone.
Thank you so much. And from our on-counter and Marion?
So I didn't hear any of you said the English language, so that's good. We did really well with Oz this time around. Overall, we had, let's see, most people didn't have any. Cheyenne had 2, Sean had 10. And then for the word of the day, Olivia got the word of the day and Cheyenne got the word of the day. I didn't count my own, so
Thank you,
yeah, there's not that very long picture.
So it was a great meeting, starting back, had a little break from the holidays, so I hope we can go into 2020 with goals set to work on our pathways and get our pathways done, and to be diligent in everything that we set out to do, even Toastmasters. So you don't realize how much progress you made until you need to use it. So it is something that is good for public speaking and just increasing your confidence. Even a room of less than 10 people can be daunting, but if you can conquer that, you can conquer bigger room, media, anything that you may need to do. So thank you guys. It was a good meeting, and I'll turn it over to our educational overview.
I don't believe we have an educational overview tonight, but I would like to present some awards. Now, who here who is relatively new to Hilltoppers have not received a Toastmasters pin?
I don't think I'm.
Okay. David, I'd like to present to you as a fairly new member with a Toastmasters pin. You can wear it as appropriate.
Go a little closer,
Thank you. And Joe, as a relatively new Toastmaster, Toastmasters pin. Whoa. Yeah.
Right here. Come on, closer.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you. Those are the awards for tonight. And I would like to relinquish the lectern back to the acting president.
Okay, a minute past the beginning of the meeting. Sorry if you saw me on my phone. I'm on duty tonight. I have to answer the calls. And I was so I apologize about texting in the back there. This work related. Okay, I think we had a great meeting. It was a little light meeting, but that's kind of expected with the holidays. People are still out. Diego is out tonight with family still. That's why we did cancel the last 2 meetings, just because everyone's just busy and, and needed some downtime. One thing that I would like to do before we leave is let's pass around the speech book and try to sign up for some speeches looking forward. Do we have any volunteers? Does anybody need to fill any roles for next meeting? Is there any role that anybody hasn't done that they would like to step into, such as Toastmaster or anything?
I think Diego mentioned either through text or email that he would like to do a speech next week.
Okay, yep, I do remember him saying that. So we'll have Diego as the first speaker.
And then I moved Carrie to the 27th because she sent a last minute email before I came.
Okay.
I'll do his evaluation.
We'll do Diego's evaluation. All right, perfect. Okay, I can be Toastmaster unless anybody wants to be Toastmaster. Anybody? Okay. I'll be the Toastmaster. Do we have another speaker for next week in that book? Is there any other speaker, Sean?
Just Diego.
Just Diego. Okay. If anybody has like a pocket speech, maybe prepared. Hopefully Lawrence is here.
Oh, yes,
One of his
yeah.
famous
Yes,
pocket speeches.
certainly.
Anybody for a grammarian, odd counter, or anything like that?
I'll do table topics.
Okay. Sean. David Lawrence.
I'll do Grammarian call.
For a second, go ahead. I was just gonna say, I'll take timer.
Oh,
You
yeah.
see it.
I think Olivia did such a great job. Now we'll just make her permanent.
Yeah. I just figured I'd give you a break.
Thank you. I'll
All
do
right,
it.
so
So you can focus on your other talents.
All right, so Kyler's the timer and Cheyenne's table topics.
And I'll do Grammarian and word of the day and
And-
all kind
And you're doing the
of Grammarian, word of the day, all kind
an evaluator.
of. And evaluation, yeah, evaluation for whoever's speaking first, who's speaking first, Diego.
Olivia. Okay. All right, so we got most of the roles filled. In education overview, I'll do my moments of truth. My moment of
And I'll
truth.
try to remember the rest of the assignments for the moments of truth, and I'll email them.
Right now?
7:35.
Okay, so we are 10 minutes early, but there's no need to drag it out. Everybody get home about 10 minutes early, but thanks for coming. I know it was a little light meeting. Amanda, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And we're ready to come back and go ahead and close the meeting out. Thank you.
All right.
That's a good speech, bro. I like it. What tempo did you study?